Welcome back to the tutorial. Today we have a request from Rukia on Twitter, who is asking how they can trigger an action based on the shifting down for some reason. There we go. Based on the flow or position of an audio clip or maybe a video within a world. So this is useful for things like sound effects that cause an action, or sort of delayed things, or just sort of synchronized events. Really, I should actually do a video on just sort of synchronizing up events. This will be covering purely the audio portion of it. Ruki, I hope this helps. If it doesn't, or you'd like a more specific scenario discussed, do let me know. I'll make a follow-up video. But this should just be a simple example to get you thinking, get the brain juices working. All right, let's take a look. So I'm going to be using something which I made at a recent Creator Jam. This is Creator Jam 93. It's called Push My Buttons. It's all about buttons. I made a sort of like a Russian bop it system, and you can go ahead and take a look at that in the world. It's also in my public folder under memes, I believe. But let's take a look at it in this world. I've had to break it just to kind of like illustrate the solution here that I came up with. But it's fine. It'll still work in the world or in my public folder. So here it is. You kind of just had to sort of, push buttons and follow instructions on this screen here. When this bar fills up, the effect will happen here. But let's go ahead and see the effect. I've configured things so you can hear it, but I'm going to hit this pulse node over here. So what you heard there was a sort of like winding up or starting machine, and then there was like a pause, and then a sort of explosive sound or a sort of plosive sound. And on that sound here, I made the cheese particles fly out the top of the device. Do you ever think you're going to be saying such sentences in life? I don't. There you go. When the sound happens, cheese particles explode out of the device. Yes, excellent. So what's happening here is when you win the game, that'll happen. That's the reward for winning the game here. Like I said, I've broken it. So there's actually, I've broken it for demonstration purposes. There's two ways that you can do this, and it depends on how you're playing the sound. I'm not going to go into today onto which one's better. Just know that, different approach, whichever one you're doing. So the one that this uses currently is Play One Shot. Play One Shot is quite useful for Creator Jams. I'll do a video on that sort of later, audio considerations, etc. But we were using Play One Shot for this device. So I have the setup to the left here, but I'm also going to walk you through creating it from scratch as well. So this is actually the one that we showed when I did the example over here. And the I guess one of the issues with Play One Shot is that you don't really get a sort of sentiment on the playback of the sound once it's started. You can configure a whole lot of actions. And if you're not familiar with Play One Shot, there's a link in the video description to how it works. You've got a few videos and sort of play a sound when you push a button. That'll sort of show you how Play One Shot works. There's quite a lot of inputs here which control how the sound is sort of generated, what it sounds like, all sorts of stuff like that. But there isn't any sort of indication of, hey, the sound is started, it's at this position. So what you kind of have to do is guess. So what I did here was I played the sound a few times, and I discovered that after roughly 2.5 seconds here, the plosive sound happened. And so what I did here was I connected a delay to that. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to just rejigger stuff around and do the bit after the Play One Shot again. I mean, it's here, it's quite simple, but I want to show you it anyway. With fresh nodes, etc. So this will output a impulse when the Play One Shot fires. What I want to do is basically 2.5 seconds after the Play One Shot fires, I want to turn on the particle system and then turn it off a little bit later. I'll leave that bit of logics there, but let's go ahead and connect this up. So all I'm going to do here is add a delay node. You can find delay inside flow delay. I add a delay node here, and we put the delay node in, and I'm going to say, hey, 2.5 seconds after this, set a Boolean latch. So what this Boolean latch does is it sets this value down here to true. This value is hooked into the cone emitter, and then after it's been set, it fires this on set impulse, which goes to a delay, which will wait 1.5 seconds before it resets the Boolean latch. So if I do this without the sound, you'll see that we get the particle effect, and then 1.5 seconds later, we get the particle effect off. So putting everything together, it plays the sound, waits 2.5 seconds, then starts the Boolean latch, which waits 1.5 seconds and then turns off the cone emitter. So all together once again, and we get quite a nice effect. And cheese. If we now turn to the left here, you'll see that I've got the same setup, but I'm going to be using the audio clip player or the audio output effect of playing sounds. Again, here to talk about which one's better, but here what I've got is, a more traditional audio player orb that you'll see when you import sound effects. You might be able to sort of hide this or squirrel it away within a creation of yours, but what you'll end up with is an audio clip player. I'm actually going to go ahead and redo this logics all by hand so I can talk about it, which is different because it's a little bit more complicated. So on an audio clip, what you'll usually see is the various components about it. Again, I talk about this in sort of various other audio videos linked in the video description, like audio output, audio clip, etc. But you'll find audio clip player eventually. Just look through the root of the audio clip and you'll find audio clip player. You'll see that there's a play, pause, stop button here. If you see that, that's what you're looking for. With a logics tip equipped, grab audio clip player, spin to the left of the world here, push secondary, and you'll get the Logix node for this, Logix interface, sorry, and then you can open up the node browser here, and we're looking for a couple of nodes. If you go inside Playback, there is a bunch, and I mean a bunch, there's a bunch of nodes here, and these work with FBX animations, they work with sound effects, and they work with videos. And so there's a bunch here, and most of them will work exactly how you'd think, like pause pauses it, play plays it, etc. But there's a few here that are sort of different in that they are what you can use to do effects with them. So one of them here is Playback State. Playback State will give you, what's going on here in terms of position, clip length, everything. It'll give you everything. If you don't need everything, I wouldn't use it. What we're going to be using today is the position. Do note that there are two positional nodes. There is position and normalized position. Normalized position is a position that goes between 0 and 1, where 1 is the end of the clip and 0 is the start of the clip, whereas position is measured in seconds. You can use whichever you would like. As I already know, it's about 2.5 seconds. I'm going to use the real world time of the sound effect, or measured in seconds, and so I know it's 2.5. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this position node, plug the left side of it into the top of the audio clip player like this. You'll see it changes into this pink arrow. That's fine. And I'm going to pull out a display node here, putting the tip in and hitting secondary. And you'll see here right now that this says 4.6, and that's because the audio clip is at the end here. So what I'm going to do here is hit play again, hit pause for a second. You'll see we're at 1.7 seconds through the clip. Hit play again, and then we got to roughly 2.5, and you can hear that plosive effect. So now all we need to do is hook up a fire on true for that. So we go to flow, fire on true. So fire on true will fire an impulse when a conditional Boolean that is applied to it is true. And so what we want to do is check that position is greater than or equal to 2.5. So I'm going to go to back here. I'm going to go to operators, go to greater than or equal to. If you're looking for greater than or equal to, it's this symbol here. I confuse them all the time. There's something about crocodiles or something to remember. Honestly, sometimes I just spawn them in the wild and figure them out. Today, I know that it's greater than if they're on the left, but at 3 a.m. after eating some shredded cheese, who knows? Just play with them in the wild. But this is greater than for today, I can tell you that much. And then the line underneath it means greater than or equal to. To explain greater than or equal to, if I say greater than or equal to 5, and the number is 5, it'll be true. And if it's 6, it'll also be true, because it's equal or greater. So we'll double click that one and play it in the world here. This takes 2 arguments. The first one is what you want to check. So here we want to check the position of the audio clip. The second one is the value you want to check. So I'm going to put my tip in here, push secondary, and set it to 2.5. And then this will return a Boolean if the sound effect is past 2.5 or at 2.5. So here you can see it's at 3.5. We're using greater than or equal to just to avoid sort of precision issues, right? We want it to trigger if it's 2.5 or if it's, past 2.5. If you use equal here, there is a possibility due to lag or hookups or sync issues or whatever that you might miss the second or two that it's exactly 2.5. Whereas greater than or equal to will get you there. Something to note here is that with greater than or equal to, if you were to play a sound effect halfway through for some reason, for example, if I wanted to skip to, I don't know, second 5 of this audio clip for some reason, that condition would also be true and should get the particle effect as well. You'd need to do some other logic to do that, like check if it's stopped and then maybe reset something and then wait for 2.5 again. But for this example, it's perfectly fine because I'm in complete control of the sound effect and it only plays once and all the way through. So your mileage may vary if it's a different scenario. So here we're going to plug in the Boolean to fire on true. And then you'll see that there's a user input here. I always advise putting a user in here. If you're not quite sure who to put it in here, or you're just testing things out, host user is totally fine. But do remember that if the host user is absent, you might have issues. If they're AFK, you might have issues with using host user. Sometimes I've seen people use nearest user head to get a user. That's fine. Or they'll use a user that's holding the gun, or a user that's assigned to the room if it's like a room-based game of some kind. Whatever works, just try and put a user in there, and do not put local user in there. If you want to put local user in there, then use local fire on true, but that's a topic for another video. So now what we get is we get this impulse. So if I go ahead and play the sound effect again, I'm kind of sick of the sound effect now, but that's totally fine. You'll see that we get an impulse when it's greater than 2.5. So then we just plug that into the Boolean latch over here. So what we're doing here is when it's greater than 2.5, we set the Boolean latch, which will cause the particles to go off. We wait 1.5 seconds and we turn the particles back off. So now over here, I can sort of almost like a DJ, I can cue up the sound effect here. We're at 1.8 seconds right now. Hit play. There's our particles and away we go. So I hope this helped. This is just a basic example. I didn't build everything from scratch. If you would prefer that in the future, do let me know. But there are some prerequisite videos that go over both the audio thingy here and the play one shot node over here. Haven't really covered Boolean Latch that much. Just remember that it's a light switch, and you can set it using the top input. You can turn it off using the the middle input, and the bottom input toggles it on and off. And if you turn it on, you get an impulse out. If you turn it off, you get an impulse out, and it also gets a value, which is the current value of that light switch. Boolean Latch is great for semi-persistent state, and what I mean by that is like state that does change, but it changes sort of once, and then you do something based on it. So example here is like, I could do crazy logics which turned on the enabled for sort of like every frame or something like that. But all I'm doing here is saying, hey, set it to on, wait 1.5 seconds, turn it off. Quite easy to do with a Boolean Latch. You'll commonly see the Boolean Latch delay set up as well, where you do Boolean Latch and then on set, you then reset it. It's a great example of just sort of doing a temporary effect. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.